Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and unpack the most important nuggets of knowledge. Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary and, let's face it, profoundly complex life of a man who didn't just wrestle. He became pop culture itself. Terry Gene Bollea, known to millions, of course, as Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to pull back the curtain on his entire journey.
Yeah.
From those incredibly humble beginnings right up to his seismic impact on sports entertainment. We'll dig into the defining moments in the ring, sure, but also the, surprising ventures outside it, the significant controversies he faced, and ultimately that intricate tapestry of his legacy, especially following his passing on July 24, 2025. By the end of this, you will really get a comprehensive understanding of a figure who truly shaped an era, for better or worse, and why he's still such a topic of intense discussion.
Absolutely. And to truly get the phenomenon that was Hulk Hogan, we kind of have to rewind, right? Back to where it all started.
Yeah.
Terry Bollea's story begins, not in a dazzling arena, but far from the bright lights.
Yeah.
Augusta, Georgia, born in 1953. His father, Peter Bollea, was a construction foreman. His mother, Vernice Moody, she was a homemaker and a dance teacher. He actually had a really diverse background. Italian, Panamanian, Scottish, French roots. Quite a mix.
And the family moved to Port Tampa, Florida when he was just, 1.5?
Yeah, so Florida kid, basically.
Right. And what's interesting is initially there were no neon signs pointing towards wrestling stardom. As a boy, he was a Little League pitcher, so there's some early athleticism there.
Okay.
But his real passion, it seems, was music. He spent about a decade playing fretless bass guitar in several Florida rock bands, one called Ruckus.
Ruckus, okay, that fits somehow.
Doesn't it? And actually his music gigs even led him to drop out of the University of South Florida. So yeah, he explored a few paths before landing on wrestling.
So from a rock band called Ruckus to the Incredible Hulk, definitely sounds like a Florida story, doesn't it?
Kind of does.
And it was wrestling that eventually bit him, right?
Yeah.
Around 16. He was apparently a huge fan of Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, the American dream.
But it was Superstar. Billy Graham's look, that inhuman physique that truly inspired him. He said he wanted to match that.
Absolutely. And that inspiration turned out to be pretty pivotal. Jack and Gerald Briscoe, the Briscoe brothers, famous wrestlers, they noticed his physique after one of his band's shows and basically said, hey, you should try wrestling. But what followed was, notoriously brutal training under Hiro Matsuda.
Oh, Matsuda, yeah, I've heard the story.
Right. Matsuda famously broke Hogan's leg during their very first session.
Wow. First session, that's intense.
But Hogan, after 10 weeks of rehab, he came back, showed incredible resilience, apparently even blocked Matsuda the next time he tried it.
That tells you something right there, the mental toughness. And speaking of building that image, the name Hulk Hogan, it wasn't planned, was it? It was almost an accident.
Pretty much. Yeah, it came from a talk show host in Memphis, funny enough. Hogan, who is already huge, 6'7", nearly 300 pounds.
Yeah.
He was on set and just dwarfed Lou Ferrigno, the star of the Incredible Hulk TV show.
The original TV Hulk.
Exactly. The host pointed it out, and the name Terry the Hulk Boulder kind of stuck. Then it quickly morphed into Hulk Hogan.
Amazing. And his pro debut was 77 against Brian Blair.
That's right. He also wrestled briefly as the Super Destroyer, and then Terry Boulder alongside Ed Leslie, who later became Brutus Beefcake. They were Terry and Ed Boulder.
Oh, the Boulder brothers.
His first title, the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship, Northern Division, that was in 79.
Okay, so things are starting to happen. And then the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation back then, came calling.
Yep. Terry Funk actually introduced him to the owner, Vincent J. McMahon, Vince Sr., in 79.
And McMahon wanted an Irish name, right? That's where Hogan came from.
Yeah, gave him Hogan. And apparently wanted him to dye his hair red.
No way. Red-haired Hulk Hogan.
Can you imagine? Hogan reportedly just said, I'll be a blonde Irish.
Good call.
He wrestled his first WWF match as Hulk Hogan, made his debut at Madison Square Garden against Ted DiBiase.
A favor he'd repay later, as you mentioned.
Exactly. And during this first run, he was actually a heel, a bad guy, managed by classy Freddie Blassie, feuded with Andre the Giant, Bob Backlund.
But that first WWF stint, it didn't last long, did it?
No, surprisingly short. Vince Singer wasn't happy about Hogan taking the role in Rocky III. Thunder Lips.
Thunder Lips. Can't forget that.
So McMahon basically let him go over it.
Wow. So Rocky III got him fired from the WWF?
Essentially, yeah. Then he went to the American Wrestling Association, the AWA, run by Vern Gagne. Started as a villain there too, but the fans just loved him. He quickly became a huge fan favorite, had this long feud with the champ Nick Bockwinkel, lots of controversial finishes, DQs, stuff like that. Kept Hogan chasing, but never quite getting the title.
Classic wrestling booking.
His textbook. But his exit from AWA was just as abrupt. Just sent his notice in a letter. Seems like he had a flair for dramatic departures even back then.
Okay, so after these early runs, some movie work, a couple of sudden exits, Hogan's at a crossroads. But 1983, that wasn't just another year. That was huge for wrestling. And Vince McMahon Jr. had a new vision.
A national vision, and he handpicked Hogan to be the face of it.
This is it. The birth of Hulkamania.
It really was. His return to WWF was momentous. He beat the Iron Sheik for his first WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Madison Square Garden exploded.
And Gorilla Monsoon on commentary.
Hulkamania is here. Just an iconic call. It defined everything that came next.
And he brought the whole package, right? The demandments.
Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Later, believe in yourself got added.
The look, too. The yellow and red. The shirt ripped.
Oh, yeah. The flexing, the cupping the ear to the crowd. It was all part of the ritual.
You called it a psychological masterclass before. Explain that a bit more.
Well, think about the hulking up sequence. It wasn't just random moves. It was pure storytelling. He'd take a beating, look finished, then suddenly get this second wind, supposedly from the crowd's energy, right?
Yeah, the finger point, the shaking.
Exactly. He becomes invincible, shakes off the punches, then it's a sequence.
Yeah.
Point, finger wag, 3 punches, Irish whip, big boot.
Leg drop. 1, 2, 3.
And the place goes nuts. Every time. It made him seem unstoppable, like a real-life superhero the fans helped power up. That formula. It basically created the template for the modern wrestling babyface.
And it worked on a massive scale.
Unbelievably so.
There's even that weird detail about Marvel Comics, right?
Yeah.
In 84.
Yeah. Marvel got the rights to the names Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania for 20 years. It even restricted WWF from just calling him Hulk or dressing him in green or purple because of their incredible Hulk.
Crazy. So this wasn't just wrestling anymore. This was mainstream.
Absolutely. He was the face of the whole rock and wrestling connection on MTV. That brought wrestling into pop culture like never before.
Headlined the first WrestleMania, teaming with Mr. T.
Huge crossover appeal.
And then WrestleMania 3rd, Andre the Giant. The slam heard round the world.
Pontiac Silverdome. 93,000 people or so, the story goes, body slamming the 520-pound Andre. Just an iconic image.
His celebrity status just exploded then, didn't it?
Off the charts. Most requested celebrity for Make-A-Wish in the 80s.
Wow.
Appeared on Sports Illustrated, first pro wrestler ever on the cover. I think still the only one as of maybe 2013. TV Guide, People Magazine.
Co-hosted Saturday Night Live, had his own cartoon, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling.
He transcended wrestling. He was pop culture for a while there.
So you're at the absolute peak. Unbelievable fame. What happens next? Because it wasn't all smooth sailing, even then.
No, definitely not. Even at his peak, his career was full of twists. Some of wrestling's most dramatic moments in and out of the ring were right around the corner.
Like the Mega Powers. With Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah. The formation, the partnership, and then the implosion. That was huge. Savage's jealousy over Hogan and Elizabeth, that slow burn, it led to their massive breakup and the main event match at WrestleMania V.
Where Hogan won his second WWF title. Great storytelling.
Absolutely. Textbook long-term booking. His later WWF years, like 89 to 93, were also a mix, highs and lows. He did the movie No Holds Barred.
Which led to a feud with Zeus, his co-star, Tom Lister Jr.
Right. Blurring those lines again. He won the Royal Rumble back-to-back in 90 and 91. Still a huge deal.
Faced the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6, title for title, champion versus champion.
Another iconic Mania main event. Then the feud with Earthquake, where Hogan had that storyline injury.
And the fans sent all those get-well cards.
Yeah, huge outpouring. He came back, added believing in oneself as the fourth demandment, and started being called the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Won his third title from straight slaughter during the Gulf War angle. Controversial, but memorable.
Very. But then things got complicated again. The title got vacated after stuff with The Undertaker and Ric Flair.
And the 92 Royal Rumble. That was messy too, wasn't it?
Yeah. He helped eliminate Sid Justice, but kind of eliminated himself in the process. It set up a feud with Sid. Just lots of complex finishes and turns happening.
But during this time, there was also something pretty significant happening outside the ring, right? The steroid trial.
Indeed. That cast a long shadow. In 1994, Vince McMahon was on trial for allegedly distributing steroids illegally. Hogan was granted immunity to testify. And under oath, he admitted using anabolic steroids since 1976, said it was to gain size and weight.
But he didn't implicate McMahon directly.
No, he stated McMahon didn't sell them to him or order him to take them, and that testimony was seen as crucial in McMahon getting acquitted.
And didn't that testimony also touch on union stuff?
It did. It brought up Hogan apparently telling McMahon about Jesse Ventura trying to organize wrestlers back in '86. Raised questions about why there's still no real union in major pro wrestling.
Right. There's a lot swirling around him. And his 5th WWF title win, that was controversial too. Very. WrestleMania 8X. Bret Hart loses to Yokozuna. Then, like, moments later, Hogan comes out, challenges Yokozuna, and wins the title in seconds.
Yeah, that felt weird, even at the time.
Reports were Hogan kind of politicked for that finish because he wanted one last run with the belt for an overseas tour before leaving.
And his final WWF appearance back then was losing that title back to Yoko at King of the Ring.
Yep. After some interference, his contract expired. He did a brief stint back in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then came the next big shock.
The Jump, WCW 1994.
Huge news. Highly publicized signing with Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling. Jimmy Hart came with him as manager.
And he wins the title immediately.
Debut match. Beat Ric Flair at Bash at the Beach for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Kicked off a record-setting 469-day reign. Longest ever for that title.
But the biggest shakeup, that was still to come.
Oh, yeah. July 7, 1996. Bash at the Beach again.
The third man.
Hogan turns heel. Turns bad guy for the first time in almost 15 years. Aligns with the Outsiders, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And forms the New World Order. The NWO.
It was absolutely massive. Changed everything.
He completely reinvented himself. Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Black beard, black and white gear, spray painting NWO on the WCW title belt, iconic heel imagery.
And the NWO just took over, didn't it? Fueled the Monday Night War.
Totally revitalized his career and was a huge reason WCW started beating WWF in the ratings for a while there in the late 90s.
Multiple WCW title reigns, feuds with Luger, Sting, even Savage again, which led to the NWO splitting into Hollywood and the Wolfpack factions.
Right. And more celebrity involvement, too. Matches with Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Jay Leno.
Keeping WCW in the headlines.
Mm.
But then, the finger poke of doom. January 1999.
Yeah. That moment. Hogan challenging the champion Kevin Nash as NWO stablemate.
Yeah, Nash just lays down after a finger poke. Hogan pins him, wins the title.
It was theatrical, to say the least. And a lot of wrestling journalists point to that exact moment as the beginning of the end for WCW's credibility.
Why specifically that moment?
Because it felt like such blatant insider politics playing out on screen. It broke the illusion, you know?
Yeah.
Showed the audience too much behind the curtain, the creative control Hogan and others had. Many felt it insulted their intelligence, and WCW never really recovered that trust.
Makes sense. And his final year or so in WCW was pretty messy too, right?
Yeah, really controversial. A feud with Billy Kidman that didn't really work. And then the infamous incident at Bash at the Beach 2000 with Jeff Jarrett and Vince Russo.
The work shoot.
Exactly. Where Russo basically came out and seemed to fire Hogan live on air, referencing his creative control clause. It blurred reality and script in a really uncomfortable way, led to a defamation lawsuit from Hogan, and that was his last WCW appearance. Just a chaotic end to that chapter.
So WCW folds, WWE buys it, right? And eventually Hogan comes back to WWE.
Yep, second return in 2002, initially as a heel, bringing the NWO to WWE with Hall and Nash.
But that didn't last long, did it? The fans just wouldn't boo him.
Especially at WrestleMania X8 against The Rock. That crowd reaction was unbelievable. They cheered Hogan so loudly, despite him being the bad guy, that WWE had no choice but to turn him face, make him a good guy again right after. It was an iconic match.
Icon versus icon. He even had one last run with the title, right?
Yep.
Became the undisputed champion for a bit.
He did. Last WWF champion, first WWE champion after the name change, then came Mr. America.
Oh boy. The mask. I am not Hulk Hogan, brother.
Bizarre, right? That whole storyline was apparently rooted in real-life frustration Hogan had with WWE creative, and his pay led to him leaving again.
He came back again, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
2005.
Third return, yeah. Got inducted into the Hall of Fame by Sylvester Stallone, had that memorable SummerSlam match against Shawn Michaels.
And then he went to TNA. Total nonstop action wrestling.
Yep, significant run there from 2009 to 2013. Was Dixie Carter's business partner on screen, formed the Immortal Stable, turned heel again.
He liked turning heel later in his career, it seems.
Seemed that way. Involved in major storylines, feuds with aces and eights, Bully Ray. His actual final pro wrestling match was over there at a TNA house show in the UK in 2012, a non-televised event,
And later WWE appearances, hosting WrestleMania XXX.
where he famously called the venue the Silver Dome instead of the Superdome. Whoops!
Yeah, that was awkward. And his very last appearance was just recently, January 2025, on the Raw debut on Netflix.
Promoting his Real American beer. And yeah, reports say he got booed pretty heavily by that crowd.
So, beyond the ring,
Yeah.
he tried a lot of other things. Business ventures, pastamania.
Oh, Pastamania. Legendary for being short-lived. Proved even Hulk Hogan couldn't sell pasta, I guess.
He had the Thunder Mixer, the Ultimate Grill, which got recalled.
Yeah, the grill had a recall. Some hits, some misses. Hulkster burgers, Hogan energy drinks. Later, Hogan's Hangout restaurant bar, and the Real American beer. He kept trying things.
And acting, of course. Beyond Thunder Lips, No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny.
Thunder in Paradise, the TV show. Even voice acting like the Dean on China, IL.
And reality TV, Hogan Knows Best. That gave a whole different view of him.
It did. Showed his family life, led to the spin-off, Brooke Knows Best. But this also kind of leads us into the deeper complexities, the legal battles, the accusations.
Like that early lawsuit with Richard Belzer, the chokehold thing.
Yeah, 1985, Hogan put Belzer in a front chin lock on his talk show. Belzer passed out, hit his head, sued. They settled out of court.
But the biggest legal challenge, and personal one, was much later, the Gawker lawsuit.
It was huge, yeah. 2012, a sex tape involving Hogan and the wife of his then friend Bubba the Love Sponge got leaked. Gawker published a short clip.
But the tape contained more than just that, right?
Exactly. Critically, the recording also captured Hogan on a tirade using strong racial slurs, repeatedly.
The lawsuit against Gawker, funded by Peter Thiel.
Resulted in a massive $115 million judgment against Gawker, led to their bankruptcy. They later settled for $31 million.
But then the content of that tape, the racist rant, became public in 2015. The racism scandal.
Right. The audio revealed him using the N-word multiple times, saying horrible things about his daughter dating a black man and admitting he was a racist to a point.
The fallout was immediate.
WWE terminated his contract instantly, removed pretty much all references to him from their website, Hall of Fame, everything. He issued an apology, but the damage was severe.
And you mentioned the reaction from the African-American wrestling community was varied. That's important to understand, isn't it?
Absolutely vital. It wasn't monolithic. You had some figures like Virgil, Dennis Rodman, Kamala, offering some level of support or understanding. But many others, Mark Henry, Booker T, The New Day, Titus O'Neil, Shelton Benjamin, JTG, expressed deep skepticism. They questioned the sincerity of his apologies, often pointing out he seemed more upset about being recorded than about the actual things he said.
Right, focusing on the leak, not the content.
Exactly. It really highlighted the deep hurt his words caused and showed that forgiveness, especially for something like that, isn't automatic. It's earned, and many felt he hadn't earned it.
And beyond the controversies, there was also this element of self-mythologizing, stories that maybe weren't quite true.
Yeah, that's been pointed out quite a bit. Claims about, Elvis being a huge fan, wrestling 400 days a year, getting his neck broken by The Undertaker.
Offers to play bass for Metallica or the Rolling Stones?
Right. Or being offered the lead in the movie The Wrestler. A lot of these have been debunked or seem highly unlikely. It's like the Hulk Hogan persona maybe started to blend with Terry Bolley's own reality sometimes.
Interesting. And his personal life? 3 marriages, Linda, Jennifer, then Sky Daly recently. 2 kids, Brooke and Nick.
Yeah. And he spoke very openly about how devastating his divorce from Linda was. Even mentioning considering suicide shows the immense pressure behind the scenes.
He also leaned into his faith more publicly later on, got baptized in 2023.
And throughout, he dealt with serious health issues, especially his back. Years of leg drops took a massive toll. Multiple surgeries, lawsuits against a spine institute, a constant battle.
And then, July 24, 2025, the news broke.
Yeah. Passed away at 71. Cardiac arrest, apparently just a month after another spinal fusion surgery. His friend Jimmy Hart said his health took a sudden turn.
The outpouring was huge, wasn't it? Tributes from everyone.
Massive. The Rock, Undertaker, Cena, Triple H, Flair. Promotions worldwide, WWE, TNA, New Japan, AEW, held 10-bell salutes, dedicated shows. A testament to his impact. Undeniably.
But as you said, despite those tributes, the legacy remains complicated.
Extremely complicated. He's acknowledged almost universally as one of the biggest draws in wrestling history. Maybe the biggest in terms of putting wrestling on the map globally. Sold more tickets than almost anyone. You hear praise like Cody Rhodes calling his match with The Rock at WrestleMania X8 the greatest match in wrestling history because of the crowd reaction and story.
But then you had the criticisms.
Oh, yeah. Conflicting views on his actual in-ring technical ability. You have someone like Bret Hart, who is incredibly critical of his wrestling skill and backstage politics.
Contrasted with someone like Chris Jericho, who praised his ability to work a crowd.
Exactly. It's that duality, the undeniable charisma and connection with the audience versus questions about ring work and backstage maneuvering. And you absolutely have to factor in the racial comments, the political endorsements later in life. It all contributes to this incredibly complex, often contradictory public perception. He was a phenomenon, but a deeply flawed one.
What an incredible deep dive. A life lived so large, so publicly, with those massive highs and really challenging dark lows.
It really is. Hogan's story forces you to think, doesn't it? How do you reconcile the icon who inspired millions, the guy telling kids to eat vitamins and say prayers,
Right.
with the flawed individual whose personal struggles and, frankly, offensive actions cast such a shadow? His journey, from ruckus in Florida to global megastar, it mirrors the evolution of sports entertainment, media, celebrity, even public morality in a way.
So the question remains,
How will history ultimately remember him? A man who was, for a time, undeniably #1 in that ring, but whose life outside it revealed such profound and often troubling complexities.